everybody, the RLS ASMR Ryan back again with another video. So today I'm going to fulfill some subscriber requests. First of all, before I get into anything, if you're new here, please go ahead and subscribe. I'd love to have you here. And if you are, returning subscriber, thank you for subscribing and welcome back. So the two subscriber requests I'll be doing today is someone wanted me to read some Christmas stories and have a big mug of hot cocoa. I hope you can see that there without spilling it. It's a pretty big mug of hot chocolate, and the Christmas stories. And the other request was to eat like holiday cookies, like holiday Oreos, I think specifically. I have cookies, but as you can see, I'm a fat ass. I've already eaten some of them, but it's chocolate peanut butter pie cookies, and I didn't see anything holiday related, and everything I would have to have shipped from Walmart to my house, and I'm not about to pay that, so I hope this is okay. I have a paper plate here, and I'll just put these on a paper plate before I get started. But yeah, guys, so I'll be trying to do some, Christmas related content. I don't have like a Santa hat or any props, so I'll just be kind of doing whatever I think is kind of Christmassy, I guess, but I hope you guys still enjoy it anyway. It should be more about the sounds and stuff like that anyway, right? So, because I have a lot of creative ideas. Maybe this is relaxing, I don't know. And here are my cookies. So, cookies and hot chocolate. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So, yeah, like I said, guys, if you have any requests or anything you guys would like me to do again, I saw one comment for a role play idea, and the only thing I have to say about role plays is I want to do them. But the problem that I have, it's in the person who put, there was a very funny idea that I would love to do, but I don't feel like I have the equipment to be able to do a role play. I might look into something maybe low equipment that I can do, but I'll try. If I could do some role plays, I'll try and get them done. But otherwise, you know the drill. I'll just be eating stuff, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. But okay, let me just go ahead and stop yapping my mouth. I got a cookie. Okay. So, the first story I'll be reading is called "Twas the Night Before Christmas," and I don't know if this is the Charles Dickens one, but I think it's by Clement Mark Clark Moore. I don't know. Anyway, so "Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas would be there. The children were nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads, and Mamma in her kerchief, and I in my cap, had settled our brains for a long winter's nap. When out on the lawn there arose such a clatter, I sprang from the bed to see what was the matter. Away to the window I flew like a flash, tore open the shutters, and threw up the sash. The moon on the breast of the new fallen snow the luster of midday objects below, when what to my wondering eyes should appear but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer. With the little old driver so lively and quick, I knew in a moment it must be St. Nick. More rapid than eagles his coursers they came, and he whistled and shouted and called them by name. Now Dasher, now Dancer, now Prancer and Vixen, on Comet, on Cupid, and on Donner and Blitzen, to the top of the porch, to the top of the wall. Now dash away, dash away, dash away all. As dry leaves that before the wild hurricane fly, when they meet an obstacle, mount to the sky. So up to the housetop scores they flew, with the sleigh full of toys in St. Nicholas too. And then in a twinkling, I heard on the roof the prancing and pawing of each little hoof. As I drew in my head, and I was turning around, down the chimney, St. Nicholas came with a bound. He was dressed in all fur, from head to his foot, and his clothes were all tarnished with ashes and soot. A bundle of toys he had flung on his back, and he looked like a peddler just opening his pack. His eyes, how they twinkled, his dimples, how merry. His cheeks were like roses, his nose like a cherry. His droll little mouth was drawn up like a bow. And the beard of his chin was as white as the snow. The stump of a pipe he held tight in his teeth, and he smoked it, encircled his head like a wreath. He had a broad face and a little round belly that shook when he laughed like a bowl full of jelly. He was chubby and plump, a right jolly old elf, and I laughed when I saw him, in spite of myself. A wink of his eye and a twist of his head soon gave me to know I had nothing to dread. He spoke not a word, but went straight to his work, and filled all the stockings, then turned with a jerk. And laying his finger aside of his nose, and giving a nod, up the chimney he rose. He sprang to his sleigh. To his team he gave a whistle, and away they all flew, like the down of a thistle. But I heard him exclaim, ere he drove out of sight, "Happy Christmas to all, and to all a good night." So, that's a pretty good story. What's funny about it is we heard that as kids, like, wow, that's so magical and whimsical. They basically said he landed, ruined their lawn, came down their chimney, and I guess he technically cleaned the chimney for him, but then he smoked in their room. He smoked a pipe. And I don't know if you guys have ever smelled tobacco. That junk does not smell good. He smoked in their room, left some toys, and then bounced. ASMR stuff. Hopefully that was relaxing. Or I just annoyed the heck out of you guys for no reason. Alright, so the next Christmas story that I prepared that I thought would be interesting is I wanted to start out with a classic. And then these are, I guess, either these are lesser known ones, or maybe I'm not familiar with Christmas stories, but this one's called The Mystic Thorn Christmas Story. And so here we go. It was Christmas Day in the year 63. The autumn colors of red and gold had long since faded from the hills, and the trees which covered the island of Valley of Glastonbury, the Avalon or apple tree isle of the early Britons, were bare and leafless. The spreading glass-like waters encircling around gleamed faintly in the pale afternoon light of winter's day. The light fell also on those silver stems of the willows, and on the tall flags and bending reeds and osiers. I don't know how to say this word, hold on. Osier, okay. And bending reeds and osiers, which bordered on the marsh island. Westward, the long ranges of hills, running seaward, were purple in distance, and their tops were partly hidden by the misty white clouds which rested lightly upon them. To the south rose sharply and abruptly a high, pointed hill, the door of Glastonbury. It was nearing the sunset hour when a little band of men in pilgrim garb, approaching from the west and climbing the long hilly ridge, came with the sight of this isle of rest. 12 pilgrims there were in all, in dress and appearance very unlike the fair-haired Britons who at the time dwelt in the land. One, he who led away, was an old man. His hair was white, and his long, white beard fell upon his breast. But he was tall and erect, and bore no other signs of age. In his hand he carried a stout hawthorn staff. The men were climbing slowly up the hill, for they were all weary and long traveling. And here at the summit of the ridge they stopped to look out over the wooded hills and wide-spreading waters, and the grassy island with its leafless thickets of oak and alder, sitting down to rest. They spoke one to another of their long journeying from the far distant land of Palestine, and their hope that their pilgrimage might have end. Those who were with him called their leader Joseph of Arimathea. It was who had been known among the Jews many years before a counselor, a good man and a just, and who, when the Savior was crucified on the Calvary, and had given his sepulture to receive the body of the Lord. Okay. So, I didn't pre-read these, and just to give context, I had no clue what these particular stories were about. Besides, Twas the Night Before Christmas, I figured it would be that. I don't know really what this is talking about. I don't know the history around it, but let's hope this doesn't get me in trouble. Okay. upon the third day came the risen Savior. But the people, thinking that Joseph had stolen away the body, seized and imprisoned him in a chamber. There was no window. They fastened the door and put a seal upon the lock and placed men before the door to guard it. Then the priests and the Levites contrived to what death they should put him. But when they sent for Joseph to be brought forth, he could not be found. The seal was still put upon the lock and the guard before the door. The disciples of Joseph, as they gathered about their fire of an evening, often told how, at night, as he prayed, the prison chamber had been filled with a light brighter than that of the sun. And Jesus himself had appeared to him, and had led him forth unharmed to his own house in Arimathea. Sometimes they told how, again imprisoned, he had fed from the holy cup from which the Savior had drunk at the last supper with his own, and in which Joseph had caught the blood of his master when he was on the cross, and how he had been blessed with such heavenly visions that the years passed and seemed to him as naught. Now after a certain time he had been released from prison. But there were people who still doubted him, and so with his friends Lazarus, Mary Magdalene, and Philip, and others, he had been driven away from Jerusalem, the small vessel without oars, rudder, or sail, in which they had been cast adrift onto the Mediterranean, had come at last in safety to the coast of Gaul, and for so many years that had Joseph wandered through the land, carrying ever with him two precious relics, the Holy Grail and that same spear within the Roman pierced in the side of Christ. Now, at last, with a chosen band of disciples, he had reached the little known land of the island of the Britons. Landing from their little boat in the early morn on this unknown coast, they had knelt upon the shore while Joseph gave blessing to the God of heaven in a lowly chanted prayer. Then, over the brow of the seaward hill they had passed, led by an invisible hand, and singing as they went, all day through the dark forest and over reedy swamps. They had made their way, and now at nightfall, tired and way-worn, they rested on the ridgy hill which has ever since been known by the name of Weary Hall. During the long day's march, they had seen but a few of the people of the island, or of the land, and these had held aloof. Now suddenly the silence was broken by loud cries and shouts and groups of the native Britons. Wild and uncouth in appearance, their half-naked bodies, stained the blue with woad, were seen coming from different directions up the hill. They were armed with spears, hatchets of bronze, and other rude weapons of olden warfare. And as they came rapidly nearer, their threatening aspect and menacing cries startled the pilgrim band, rising hastily as though they would flee, and the men looked in terror, one toward another. Joseph alone showed no trace of fear. Obedient to a sign from him, they all knelt in prayer upon the hillside. Then thrusting his thorny staff into the ground beside him, raising both hands towards heaven, Joseph claimed possession of this new land in the name of his master, Christ. How is this a Christmas story? Okay, we're almost done. This staff hath borne me long and well. Then spake that saint divine, over a mountain and over plain on the quest of a promised sign. For let it stand in this western land, and God do no more to me, if there ring not out from this realm about tibia glora domini. His voice ceased, and the men rose from their knees, looking expectantly for the heavenly sign, but ready, if need be, to meet with courage and threatened attack. But stillness had again settled over the hill. Only a few rods distant, and the Britons had stopped and grouped closely together, were gazing in awestruck silence upon the dry and withered staff, which had so often aided Joseph in his wanderings from the Holy Land. Following their gaze, Joseph and his companions turned toward it, and even as they did so, behold, a miracle. The staff took root and grew as they watched. And I said it put forth branches and green leaves, fair buds, and milk-white blossoms, which filled the air with their sweet odor. For a moment, awed and amazed, all stood silently, wondrously, and Joseph had prayer had been answered. This was indeed the heavenly token which had been foretold. Then with the tears of joy, all cried out as with one voice, "Our God is with us, Jesus is with us." Marveling much at strange things they had just seen and heard, the Britons dropped their weapons and fled in hassle from the hill. Then did Joseph and his disciples go down across the march into the valley, and then were rested undisturbed. Word of the miracle had just been wrought on Warial Hill was brought soon to Arviragus, the heathen king at the time, and he welcomed gladly the holy men and gave them the beautiful vale of Avalon, whereon to live. There they built a little lonely church, with roof of rushes and walls of woven twigs and wattles from the marsh. The first Christian church which had ever been built in Britain. There they dwelt for many years, serving God, fasting and praying, where Joseph taught the half-barbarous Britons who gathered to listen to him the faith of Christ. Time passed, and the little wattled church became a great and beautiful abbey. Many pilgrims there who came to worship at the shrine of St. Joseph, to drink from the holy well which sprang up from the foot of Chalice Hill, where the holy cup lay buried, and to watch the budding mystic Thorn, which year after year, when the snows of Christmas covered the hills and put forth its holy blossoms, a symbol of God's promise, Karma. Now long, long afterward, there came a time when there was war in the land, and one day a rough soldier, who reckoned not of his holy origin, cut down the sacred tree. Only a flat stone now marks the place where it once stood, and where Joseph's staff burst into bloom. But there were other trees which had been grown from slips of the miraculous thorn, and these, mindful of our Lord, still keep the sacred birthday and blossom each year on Christmas Day. Okay, I should have pre-read this. I thought that this was going to be a cool story. I read the first couple sentences, and I thought that this was going to be like a cool cozy Christmas story about like the mystic Thorn and stuff. And it's just like religious stuff. So, I apologize if you're not religious and if that made you as uncomfortable as it made me reading it, but I figured I might as well keep that in and keep reading it, because once I got halfway through, I just couldn't stop. So that was interesting. Let me know what you guys think about these stories in the comments below. Hopefully you didn't click off when I mentioned religion, but I'm not a big fan of that kind of stuff. I wanted to make this a cozy type of whisper reading video. This one's a short one, and we'll end on this one. And let me go ahead and skim it so there's nothing controversial in it. I don't think so. I'm probably going to be proven wrong. But alright. Let's go ahead and see. It was Christmas Eve. The night was very dark, and the snow falling fast as Herman, the charcoal burner, drew his cloak tighter around him. And the wind whistled fiercely through the trees of the Black Forest. He had been to carry a load to a castle near, and was now hastening home to his little hut. Although he worked very hard, he was poor, gaining barely enough for the wants of his wife and 4 little children. He was thinking of them when he heard a faint wailing. Guided by the sound, he groped about and found a little child, scantily clothed, shivering, sobbing by itself in the snow. "Why, little one, they left thee here all to face this cruel blast." The child answered nothing, but piteously looked up at the charcoal burner's face. "Well, I cannot leave thee here, thou'dst to be dead in the morning." So saying, Herman raised his arms, wrapping his cloak in the warming its little cold hands in his bosom. When he arrived at his hut, he put down the child and tapped at the door, which was immediately thrown open, and the children rushed to meet him. "Here, wife, is a guest to our Christmas Eve supper," he said, leading in the little one, who held timidly to his finger with his tiny hand. "And welcome he is," said the wife. "Now let him come and warm himself by the fire." The children all pressed around to welcome and gaze at this little newcomer. They showed him their pretty fir tree decorated with bright colored lamps in honor of Christmas Eve, which the good mother had endeavored to make a fete for the children. Fete? Dude, I don't know what all these words are, man. I don't know words. Okay. For the children. Then they sat down to supper, each child contributing its portion for the guest, looking with admiration at its clear blue eyes and golden hair, which shone as to shed a brighter light in the little room. And as they gazed, it grew a part of the halo round his head, and his eyes beamed up with a heavenly luster. Soon 2 white wings appeared his shoulders, and he seemed to grow larger and larger, and then the beautiful vision vanished, spreading out his hands as in benediction over them. Herman and his wife fell on their knees, exclaiming in awestruck voices, "The Holy Christ Child," and then embraced their wondering children in thankfulness that they had entertained the heavenly guest. The next morning, as Herman passed by the place where he'd found the fair child, he saw a cluster of lovely white flowers with dark leaves, looking as through the snow itself had blossomed. Herman plucked some and carried them reverently home to his wife and children, who treasured the fair blossoms and tended them carefully in remembrance that wonderful Christmas Eve, calling them chrysanthemums, and every year, as the time came around, they picked a portion of the side of their feast and gave them to some poor child, poor little child, according to the words of Christ. And as much as ye have done it unto these of the last of my brethren, ye have done it unto me. Okay. I should have pre-read these. But hey, I hope that was cozy. I think the first story was cozy. Hopefully you guys have gotten some good relaxation and rest. Any other suggestions and anything else, just let me know in the comments below. And hopefully you guys have a great Christmas, and I'll be posting a few more videos before Christmas, hopefully. I have a few more videos I want to get posted, a few more ideas, and I want to try and iron out the year with a good amount of content, because now that I'm on a roll. If you guys haven't noticed, I've been posting almost twice a week consistently, so yeah, but thank you guys guys for so much for watching this video. Hopefully you guys have a great rest of your day, and yeah, goodbye.